listeners a heads up, okay? If you are a Christian and if you are a Christian and a gun owner, if you're a Christian and a gun owner, okay? First of all, if you're a Christian, you're under attack right now. If you own a gun and you are a Christian, you better be doubly worried because you're under double attack. And I am putting together an explosive report that will be, I expect to have it finished tomorrow. I've done interviews on this. It's a tactic that's in play right now, Joe. I have not been able to share, I've shared some details with you, but not all the details.
No, the listeners know more than I do.
Well, no, let me tell you something, folks. This is something where knowledge is going to be power, and exposure, the sunlight, is going to act as a disinfectant. We're going to, as Barney Fife from Andy Griffith, we're going to nip this in the bud. We're going to do some bud nipping. And anyway, that's
the last announcement.
Yes.
Last night we had a show with Augusto Perez. Folks, if you did not hear the show, please go listen to the archive, download the show, go to iTunes, download it there, listen to it whenever you get a chance. Pretty much Mr. Perez gave an explosive, very well-informed interview that was, I mean, we received such a tremendous flow of positive emails and wonderful thank yous and, you know, sincere responses to people's to what they heard last night on the show, and it is all, you know, really inspiring to read that and to see so many people who were touched by the show last night. And I just hope you guys can get a chance to go back and listen to that, because there's so much information in there on so many different topics. A great man with great insight, a godly man,
yes,
and a must-listen-to interview. I mean, I rarely go back and listen to our shows and, you know, promote our shows too much, but this one, I'm saying we got to get it going viral, because Mr. Perez gave a stellar performance and had so much information there that it's a must listen to.
Yes, and I've received 127 right now. As of right now, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, I received 127 emails about Mr. Augusto Perez about last night's program. 127.
Yeah.
And out of the 127, 125 were positive. I had 2 negative, and they were really negative. They were just there were some concerns, but yeah. So that said, now folks, you can get to our archive on that program either through Christians United Broadcasting Network, or go to HomelandSecurityUS.com, click on recent broadcasts, and there you have it.
Yeah, or like you could do an RSS feed, bookmarking.
Yes,
bookmarking it on our show page, main show page. There is, right next to the iTunes button, there's an RSS feed button, and that puts it in a folder in your bookmarks, and it puts all the shows right there. Also on iTunes, and hopefully expanding, you know, to further realms of radio and satellite. We're looking into some things. So
yes, and with your help, ladies and gentlemen, with your help. And this is something, again, I did not talk to you, Joe, about, but today I did receive a call in amongst all of the things that went on today. I did receive a call. With your help, folks, it is very possible. Again, now this is going to, I'm looking into this, and I have to talk to you, Joe, about this. And this is going to come as a big surprise to you, Joe. But it's very possible we might be able to broadcast our program over satellite radio, not shortwave, not, you know, just simply internet, but satellite radio.
And now, I'm not sure the prices of that, but what I know for sure is it's not cheap, and I don't know where that money would ever come from.
No, it's not cheap at all. Okay, and what I'm trying to do is work with a man who I believe is a great Christian. He's not well known, but he has some influence in various in things regarding XM and Sirius. Okay. And we're trying to come to some sort of workable. I mean, you know, something within reach that we could possibly do. Okay, now again, this is like at the very beginning stages, but I feel confident enough, and I think if I profess it positively enough, and if that's the will of God, then so be it. But you know, it's because of every one of you, and that's exciting news. Okay, I mean that's big. That's big news. So anyway. And by no mean, in no way was I attempting to demean shortwave, because Rick Wiles is on shortwave, and I'll tell you why. That's broadcast all over the world in shortwave.
No, Rick Wiles he's on Galaxy 19 satellite.
Yeah.
He is on Blog Talk Radio. He is on he has his own format, and he is also a listener-supported show. And he does a tremendous job. I mean, I've always loved listening to Rick Wiles, but more and more, I mean, like in the last couple months, I find myself, you know, he is the show. Him and Pastor Begley are like, I have to listen to their shows. RPM, when I can, I try to listen to it. But, you know, I used to listen to a lot of Alex+Jones a long time ago, a couple of years ago. And then I used to catch his broadcast when I could. Now I'm trying to catch Rick Wiles and, you know, Pastor Begley's broadcasts when I can. And it's just interesting how that changes. But anyway.
Yeah, I got to tell you,
news.
We have got, and the thing is, I cannot see, and I used to, and then I'm going to say this and we can move on, but I can't see at this point how any person of reasonable sensibilities, of people who are paying attention, how they could possibly separate the news, the current events, the headlines from the Word of God. And from, you know, biblical divine prophecy, and remember, over 25% of the passages in the Bible are prophetic in nature, and you know, so look, I think we need just, I mean, they go hand in hand, the news and the prophecy. So if we want discernment, if we want to know where things are headed, I think we need to look at both of those.
Yeah.
Forget the Republican Democrat stuff. Forget the you know, we have to combine the two in order to get the real picture, and that's, and I can.
We have to remove ourselves out of the Democrat-Republican mindset.
Right.
So many people ask, you know, I'm a Democrat, or so many people say, you know, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, and they put that above, you know, all else. And they, no matter, say, you know, for a conservative, you didn't believe in abortion. Well, some conservatives now do, and it seems like people stick with their beliefs of their party rather than the beliefs of their heart, or the beliefs in the Bible. And, you know, that is a serious problem.
Exactly. And, you know, I've got to say as well that, you know, we respect all the talk show hosts out there, and thank, you know, we've met so many great people. We can only strive, we can only hope to be as good as Pastor Paul and others. And, you know, I mean, my goodness, you know, we really can only hope to be at that level. But that said, we've got a lot of information, a lot of disconcert. Oh, one more thing, Joe, I do have to mention this, okay, because I've gotten a couple of emails about this. Let me just summarize it by saying this. There are people out there who are saying, look, you're frightening a lot of people. You're scaring a lot of people. You're, you know, okay, not fear-mongering, but, you know, for example, Augusto Perez, you know, talking about some pretty terrible things coming down the road here.
Yeah, and people say it all the time when we have Steve on, that, oh, he's a fear-monger. You guys are fear-mongering.
Well, yeah, and I look at fear, the word, or the descriptive term fear-mongering differently than the emails that I've received. The emails I received are you know, about people who are kind of stuck and hamstrung. And this is all that they talk about is you know, gee, the bad stuff coming down the pike. And I think what we have to do is, and they were suggestive in nature as well, saying, look, you know, prayer, fervent prayer could mitigate this. And I believe, you know, I really believe that God will take care. Look, God is angry, and he's held out, like Augusto said. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are not here to scare you into catatonic state. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to inform you. And knowledge, proper use of knowledge is power, and proper use of prayer is important.
Yeah.
All is not lost. Do not get into that state, that catatonic, I can't do anything more, I can't talk about anything other than the bad things that are going to happen, because, we do have the ability through prayer to not only save ourselves but save others, and I believe that could happen. And so be uplifted in the Word of God and in the Spirit while taking the headlines under advisement. And that's the only thing I wanted to say, because those emails weighed heavy on my heart today, and I thought, wow, let's just get that out of the way. So, but we got a ton of
we're going to start the news tonight. Air Force hypersonic test fails. A aircraft has crashed into the Pacific Ocean today. A hypersonic aircraft launched by the Air Force Tuesday spiraled out of control and was destroyed before it could reach its goal of speeding it to 4,600 miles per hour, Pentagon officials said Wednesday. This report I saw and talked to somebody about before, or received an email about before the show, and wanted to know if this really was the aircraft that they said was the one that crashed, or was it a drone. But it looks like it was some kind of supersonic aircraft that crashed into the Pacific. We're going to have more on that. Social Security is adding to the fun and games here, apparently. If you read the show description that said got bullets, the United States government does, and they're continuing to buy ammunition. Now we have the Social Security Administration to purchase 174,000 rounds of hollow point bullets, and this is on top of NOAA we told you about the other day, plus an extra 750 million rounds by the Department of Homeland Security, equaling over 1 billion rounds of ammunition by Homeland Security alone. Now the EPA, NOAA, Social Security Administration are all buying up ammunition.
Yeah, no. And I know that the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration is not, in a later story that was ultimately corrected, NOAA is not the actual recipient of this ammunition. It was another federal agency of that same umbrella, but it was not, it was not NOAA, NOAA. But that does not change the fact that these people are gearing up for this, gearing up for something. And you don't target practice with hollow points, period.
No, and this article we'll post in the chat room. It's off, linked off of Drudge. It's from InfoWars. Social Security Administration to purchase 174,000 rounds of hollow point bullets. And it goes on to say that, are they preparing for civil war or civil unrest? Ammunition to be delivered 41 locations across the United States. And they have an update. Department of Homeland Security now covering up ammo purchases. And we're going to stick with the Social Security purchase first. And I'll just read you a couple lines. It says, from the department, it was first the DHS, then it was the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Now the Social Security Administration is set to purchase 174,000 rounds of hollow point bullets. A solicitation posted by the SSA on Federal Biz Ops website asked contractors to supply the 174,000 rounds of .357 SIG 125 grain bonded jacket, a hollow point pistol ammunition. And it goes on to continue in the article talking about drills that were run and the new militarized police and the different ammo purchases and other suspicious purchases we've seen, such as the 450 million rounds by DHS in March, now followed by a 750 million round purchase just recently. And if you follow that story to the other one, DHS classifies new ammo purchases following controversy. This federal agency blacks out amount of bullets being bought. The DHS has redacted information relating to the quantity of bullets it's buying following a controversy concerning the agency's purchase of over 1 billion rounds of ammo, which many fear is a sign the federal government is preparing for civil unrest in the U.S. And it goes on to point out that despite the documents that were supposed to be redacted, if authorized by Congress for national security reasons, there was already something posted showing that they were making these purchases yesterday.
Well, okay. We have to look at this logically. We have to look at this, without hype, and really look at it for what it is. And I don't know what to make of this, other than that they're not using this ammunition for target practice. They're not using this ammunition for anything other than a purpose that we have yet to really fully be made aware of. And I mean, are they storing this ammunition? Are they? What are they doing with it? What are they going to do with it?
Right. That's the question. Why?
Yeah.
Why so many different government agencies? Why are they stocking up on this ammo? Because at the same time, they're cracking down and trying to crack down on the ability to purchase ammo as an American citizen in the United States, and trying to bring down the Second Amendment and make gun legislation a reality, gun bans a reality for the people. At the same time, they are purchasing, bullets themselves. Now, could this be that they know that there is going to be, maybe they can't get gun control pushed, maybe the, bullets won't be available, or, lead will be, the price of lead will rise so high that people won't be able to buy bullets. Maybe it's a play to prepare for something they know is coming that we don't know,
Well, yeah. I mean, it's disturbing, to say the least, because when in the course of history, recent history, or any history at all, has this happened? I don't recall. One can argue, hey, look, maybe this has happened because maybe we know about this. It's happened before, but maybe we know about it because of the internet. Well, I'm not buying that either, because I've talked to DHS officials who are saying, look, this is not characteristic of their past behavior, and so that said,
in the chat room, somebody said that today. Alex+Jones said that the bullets could be going to Syria for Al Qaeda. That might not be out of the question either. Wouldn't be surprising. But the thing I would say to that is, we're already giving them millions and millions of dollars in order for them to buy their own ammunition over there. So I don't think,
Well, there's got to be some level of accountability for assets purchased by taxpayer money. And now, look, generally speaking, just think back to the Iran-Contra affair. Okay, a lot of this, ordinarily, if the ammunition was destined for Syria or for rebels elsewhere, rebels, terrorists, whatever you want to call them, it would be through a black ops. It would be through something like Iran-Contra. It would be, So, I understand that line of thinking. I'm not sure I would totally agree with that, but that's a good,
it's a good observation. Yeah.
Thanks for adding to the discussion on that, because, it's important to really keep our eyes on this.
On the front of Judge right now.
Wait a second, though, Joe. Folks, why isn't this a bigger deal among the so-called journalists out there? Okay, I mean,
right.
Really, why isn't this a bigger deal about it?
Okay, these people are smart. I mean, the journalists usually, maybe they're not smart in the same sense that we would consider other people, but they have common sense. They have the mental fortitude to put 2 and 2 together. They wouldn't have been able to make it through college and getting a job and continuing their careers if not. So they see what's going on, the purchases of ammunition, the weird purchases of coffin liners, or
even body bags, yeah,
the checkpoint boxes, et cetera, and like 9/11 as an example. Look what happens when you ask, questions that, the government doesn't want to answer or want you to ask. You're a terrorist. I mean, you question 9/11, the official story of 9/11, which the young commissioners say is, made up, pretty much, not accurate. You are a terrorist. That's like the line that they use. Maybe they're scared. Maybe they're thinking they're on the inside by not saying anything. They're going to be rewarded later. when in reality they won't be, you know. But why not speak out about it? I would say number one cause is fear. They're afraid to lose their jobs. They're afraid to lose their lives. They're afraid they don't have the Lord in their lives.
Well, that's true. And I've seen other theories as well. Okay, one concern is Israel's going to launch, you know, of course, a massive attack on Iran here shortly. And the reason these federal agencies are stockpiling ammunition is to stop attacks on federal buildings, federal agencies that are expected to be launched by numerous radical Islamic, not radical, numerous Islamic groups here in this country. Now, okay. We wouldn't have this problem if we would have better immigration enforcement. And now, you know, Napolitano and the head of ICE, they're yanking people off of enforcement at the orders of Barack Hussein Obama, and in no stretch is George W. Bush, Clinton, and George H.W. Bush not responsible for that as well. So you know, look, I mean, it's like leaving your front door of your house and the garage door open. You know, open your front door, open your garage door, and you know, basically inviting people in to trash your house. And I look, I'm frustrated with these explanations. I'm frustrated with the fact that this is still going on. So. But I do believe that there is something wrong here. And look, you know, Joe, I've read a lot of these various forums, internet forums, and what have you. You know what? I'm not even going to get into that. Let's move on.
Okay. I'm going to go here. The front of Dredge right now says 30 days war with Iran. I think something very similar to that. This leads to an article from the Telegraph. Israeli minister warns of a 30-day war with Iran. A strike on Iran's nuclear sites would spark a 30-day war with missile attacks on Israel cities, as many as 500 dead, according to Israeli minister responsible for preparing home defense. Matan Villani, who is stepping down as Home Front Defense Minister to become ambassador to China, said the country was ready as never before. The assessments are for what will last 30 days on a number of fronts, he told the Mariv newspaper. It could be that there will be less fatalities, but it could be that there will be more. That scenario is that we are preparing for, according to the best experts. Speculation has grown that Israel is planning an unilateral attack on Iran's nuclear program, or that it is using the question to increase pressure on Barack Obama to launch an American strike. Western governments share fears about Iran's nuclear ambitions, but oppose military action and want to give more time to diplomacy. That off the front of Drudge right now, and as I told you before, we have seen this Iran war propaganda, and it is conditioning. They are conditioning your brain to know. I mean, we're no longer asking if there will be a war, but when instead. And there's a reason for that, because we've seen over the last 8 months that they have been, you know, every week you see an article in the paper. Well, this person says war with Iran. This person says war with Iran. This person says Iran war with Israel. This person says Israel is going to be wiped off the map. This person says Iran has nukes. I mean, we just see it constantly. There are events that happen. I mean, Ahmadinejad, if he's calling for, you know, Israel to be wiped off the map, I know those weren't exact words, but if he's using phrases or saying things that are threatening to Israel, that is newsworthy. If you have people blowing up nuclear scientists in Iran, that is newsworthy. But every single time you have, I mean, imagine every time if we had a newspaper story about all the times, or if every time somebody inside our government opened their mouth up about, you know, a certain subject, it would just be an overflood of news, of nonsense, really. It's just people's opinions. People who really don't have the ability or don't pull the strings or make the decisions.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
These people who are talking, who are these articles are being quoted in these articles, people inside different departments of different governments are not the ones who make the final call. So they are just speculating and or, you know, told, you know, go give an interview and say this, or, I mean, who knows? But we know one thing's for sure. There will be a war with Iran. Which country will launch it? We don't know. When will it be? We don't know. But it will be soon. And Iran does not have a central bank, and you can guarantee there will be war with Iran. And if there is a country left after there is a war, the first thing they will do is institute a central bank.
Well, look, I believe that the war that erupts, whether Israel attacks Iran, Iran baits Israel into attacking them, or Iran actually does by proxy, using Hezbollah or Hamas, attacks, goes right out and attacks Israel. I have a feeling that it's going to spread. Initially it might appear, and this is something I've talked to the DHS officials about, because this one DHS source has got ties within the military community, and they're looking at this going into a regional conflict, a regional war involving Syria, and therein lies that Damascus scriptural passage where it's Damascus will be turned into a ruinous heap, and I think if we see that, I think we're going to have a pretty good idea where we are in the timeline of things. But I believe we have to merge the biblical passages, scriptures, with what we're seeing right now. And I agree to an extent that we've been conditioned. I mean, we've been hearing about this, the Iranian situation. Well, I've been hearing about it since 1979. Not the nuclear aspect of it, but when the mullahs took over, when we assisted in deposing the Shah over there under the Carter administration, and had 52 people taken hostage for 444 days. And I interviewed two of those 52 two of the 52 hostages. I interviewed in 2004 and 05, and both of them identified Ahmadinejad as being one of the planners of that embassy takeover.
Yeah.
And look, we sent and by the way, we were the first agency, and I'm not patting myself on the back, I'm just stating a matter of fact, right after Ahmadinejad was elected, if that's the right word, in Iran, we sent some documentation that we found off of his website in Farsi to both the State Department and the FBI, where he admitted taking part in the planning and orchestration of the hostage takeover as part of his bio, and basically they just told us to shut up. So I mean, there you have it. Okay, why? And why Iraq as opposed to Iran? I mean, when we went into Iraq, we created a power vacuum over there, and this was done under Bush. The power vacuum to make Iran, we actually made Iran stronger by doing this.
Right.
So, there's again, when you come right down to it, there's a bigger agenda at play here.
Yeah. We're going to talk about a number of issues we mentioned in the beginning. I have some police brutality issues. There's a couple reports of some pretty disturbing crimes. One, an off-duty police officer struck a 4-year-old girl with a motorcycle, then shoots and kills the angry father. Also, police allegedly break a man's arm, falsely prosecute him after refusing officers' prostitution offer. This was a man who was solicited by an undercover female prostitute. He only had $3 in his pocket. He said he wasn't interested, and they arrested him anyway. And they ended up breaking his arm. There's a lawsuit. We're going to get into that. Also, Janet Napolitano.
This story has been floating around for a while.
Yeah. Run Homeland Security treated male staffers like lapdogs, federal discrimination lawsuit charges. And what she is doing is, because she is a homosexual lesbian, and as Rick Wild stated today, there was a lady put in as the secretary of the...
That's her girlfriend, her husband, whatever, wife, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, she is taking normal heterosexual males, treating them badly, first of all. Second of all, she is filling positions inside the Department of Homeland Security with her, transgendered lesbian friends.
Yes.
Okay, which is definitely a conflict of interest. Anybody who runs the business or works at a business know that you keep these things separate for a reason, because it can lead to problems, especially in the head of a department that is supposed to be the department that protects this nation.
Well, look, one of the big things, I mean, if there's any, boy, I don't know, if there is any type of good, not good, but I hesitate to even use the word positive, but if nothing else, it's hard for someone who is not hiding their homosexuality to be blackmailed. Okay, that's about the only positive thing I can see about this. But nonetheless, we do know the tendencies from psychological profiles of the elements within the homosexual community, that there could be a difference of I don't want to say a mental difference. I want to say a behavioral difference, and I think that we're seeing that manifest right now within DHS, and that's what my source within DHS said. There is a problem. And I left a lot of that out because it didn't seem relevant at the time when I talked to my source.
No, but I don't mean to cut you off there. Sorry.
No, I was done.
We're going to open up the phone, 661-244-9839. We're going to take some calls probably up until the end of the hour. We're going to hit the top of the next hour with news for the first half of that hour, and then take phone calls at the end. We're going to go to area code 630. You're on the line with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
I've been listening to you guys, for a while now, and I find myself listening to you a lot more than Alex+Jones now. You guys have kind of taken over that because I only have so much time in a day and everything. And I still like Alex+Jones a lot, but I mean, you guys are just more on the same, I guess, perspective, like the whole, Christianity thing and everything, and finding God. What I wanted to really ask was, or kind of talk about really was, what do you, when you talk about this stuff, and people ask you, first of all, people have no idea. Everyone, about 99% of the people, friends, family that I talk about have absolutely no clue what's going on. And when I talk about it, I'm a really bad arguer, when it comes to just trying to explain, trying to make a point and everything, and trying to argue for something as far as, like, why not to vote for Obama. I just find it very, I'm just bad at arguing and in general. But when people ask, like, okay, so, you tell them all these things that are going on, and then they ask, okay, so what do we do? What's the solution? What are we supposed to do? And the only answer I have for them is like, well, you just got to get informed. You just have to know what's going on, and that's our responsibility, and spread the word. That's all really we can do. Voting for Romney or voting for Obama is not going to really do anything. I mean, I was a big time, still am a big time Ron Paul supporter and everything, but I just obviously he's not going to get elected, but it's really the principle that you stand for and everything. But I just find that most people just don't care. Like, all my friends are still there's diehard sports fans. I mean, I used to be a diehard sports fan, and just all I listened to was sports radio all the time. And I don't even know the last time I turned on sports radio. I just listen to this is the stuff that interests me now. I'm just like completely all in.
Boy, Joe can speak to that. I mean, he
Absolutely, yeah. I was Jim Rome. We'd go out of town on the road, and Jim Rome, Mike in the morning, sports all the time. Same way as you, exactly the same.
But you know what, caller? Look, I understand where you're coming from because, you know, a lot, and you see this on YouTube videos where people will be protesting, especially, I mean, regardless if they're progressives or they're conservatives, they'll be protesting or marching or whatever, and you'll have a guy with a camera come up and ask them very specific questions. And 9 times out of 10, and perhaps these are the only ones that make it on YouTube, the people that they ask can't articulate why they're there or what their objections to any particular policies are. And look, my heart is with you, caller. I got to tell you something. I've found that when I'm taken, like, you know, if somebody blindsides me or asks me, well, why, you know, what about this or what about that, including my wife, by the way, who will say, well, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Sometimes I cannot articulate what I want to say with any degree of acumen, you know. Now, but I got to tell you this. Here's what I learned. If someone asks you a question like, well, why? I mean, anything, any type of question. Why do you think Obama is so bad, for example? Turn it around and say, well, why do you think he's so good? If you're supporting him, then make the case. Make the case, for example, on Obama, and ask them. Turn the question back onto them, and that, if nothing else, that'll buy you some time mentally, you know, in a practical sense, to get your thoughts together. The other thing too is just spend a few minutes. I know, look, we're all short on time. Spend a few minutes and learn some statistics. You know, like, even if you've got I carry around index cards with me, and I'll put statistics on there that I can't afford to, you know, memorize. And if somebody mentions something about the economy, I'll say, look, you know, when Obama took office, gas was $1.87, and now it's at $3.84. Why do you think that is? You know, and or, you know, unemployment stats or whatever. So just, you know,
I mean, people. I just find that people just don't. You know, people just care about themselves, how it's affecting them. You know, for instance, like, you know, I saw a cousin of mine over the weekend, and he's still planning on voting for Obama because he thinks if Romney wins, you know, his Medicare customers, that he works at a physical therapy, you know, clinic, and all his customers are all on Medicare, and if Medicare is cut, you know, which they're probably not going to do anyway, but you know, it's like everyone is just like focused on how it affects themselves. No one realizes that, like, you know, this whole country has been just completely taken over, you know, by the banksters, and
that's right.
You know, that it's on the verge of you know, complete collapse. I mean, like, it's just hard to get that point across to people, and people just don't want to hear it. You know?
Oh no, man, you are so right, because look, 51% are right now. We're at an unprecedented 51% of all people in the country are receiving, of all households are receiving some form of federal assistance. We're all going to be at some point eligible for Social Security. You know, maybe if it's there or if it's not there. But as you say, okay, people are so concerned about their own, you know, their own situations.
Yeah. They only care about themselves. They do not care about anything else unless it is affecting them at that time. And it is sad to see that, because that, I mean, that's our sense of community, of oneness, of, you know, a true greater good, you know, that the government claims that's what they're trying to create, but obviously they're not. And people have this disconnect, and I think technology has even made that a lot worse, adding to that disconnect with each other. And it's just really frustrating, especially, you know, when you walk into a store and you hear people talking and they're talking about a game, or like I walked into a gas station today, and so I had to wait for the cashier to check me out because he was watching the final pitches of somebody throwing a perfect game or something. And I'm thinking, you know, this is, I mean, that was something, I mean, it didn't really matter, but the mentality of these people, you know, that they put sports and football games above, you know, their faith, and they're trying to grow and better themselves.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I totally used to be like that, though. That's the thing. I mean, I just think back, wasn't even too long ago, like how obsessed I was, and now it's just like you look at things and it's just like, you know, why is this like, you know, why is football or I mean, I still like it, you know, I'll still watch a game and stuff, but like it's like, you know, there's so much more there's so much more going on in this world that, you know, anything could happen, and you know, football could be the last thing on your mind, you know.
Yeah, and I agree. Watching a football game, you know, especially if you're informed and you're doing something, and you're, you know, it's just a matter of priorities. If your priorities are in order, it's not a problem to enjoy yourself and do something like that. But when it comes before things that are much more important, like your salvation, then it's obviously a very big problem.
Yeah, salvation in family, in country, you know, or salvation, family, and you know what's really going on. That should be the order of things, and then of course the you know, to take some time out for yourself as well. I mean, whether it's take a walk or watch a game or something, you know, to definitely have that balance in your life. But you're right. You know, caller, you made some really interesting comments and observations. But I'd urge you just to, you know, if nothing else, carry around some index cards with some figures on it and information, stats about the current state of affairs, and then if you're questioned by others, turn the question on to them and ask them to prove their case or make their case, and then you can, you know, you can go from there. I mean, that's just a tactic, one tactic, but one that works. But yeah, you're very good observations, man. I'm telling you.
Well, you guys, you know, keep on doing what you're doing. I mean, you know, this is my new favorite show.
Well,
thank you.
I got to sort of download it to my iPod every night, pretty much, and you know, it's pretty good what you guys are doing.
Well, thank you very much, caller, and we're going to try to keep going and even get hopefully get better with every show. So, and leave you, you know, at the end of the show knowing more than what you knew, you know, when you first started. So we're going to try to make your investment of time worth your while, and do it in such a manner that we also impress, you know, God, you know, as well. So, well, God bless you. You take care.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks for the call.
Thank you, caller.
Joe, go ahead and take the switchboard.
Okay, I'm going to go here to area code 928. Hold on, there we go. Area code, oh, wrong one. Here we go. Area code 928, you're on with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hello, Joe and Doug. This is Smiley Dog.
Hey, how's it going, dog?
Good. I'm back from my hidey hole, well, anyway, I couldn't get in chat room the whole time I was there because they'd be able to track me right to my hidey hole through my IP address. But I'm back now, and hey, but I wanted to call the caller that just called, and maybe give him a little encouragement. You know, I told you how I've been trying to wake up my pastor in our church and everything. And
yeah,
I told you about, you know, I was ready to give up on him and quit sending him all the news articles and everything, and how he finally woke up. And then I met somebody else at church that had been listening to Steve Quayle and listening to you guys also. She found out about you through Steve Quayle. And then I just met another guy in church that is an ICE agent, and he's giving us all kinds of info. And like our whole church is waking up big time now, and they've actually started some programs in the church where they're preparing big time. And
wow, that's good news.
So,
good news.
Yeah, it's good news. And you know, and I was ready to give up on it. You know,
we had a caller. We had a caller call in and actually say he was put in charge or made a part of some kind of preparedness class for the church a couple weeks ago.
Well, see, that's what our church is doing too. And they're also actually, you know, stocking up stuff. If you know what I mean, you know.
Sure.
all kinds of stuff.
You know, Doug, I'll tell you something. It used to be the churches would, you know, before these federal handouts, if you had a problem, the churches would step in and help the members of the community out. And, you know, we need to go back to that and stop relying on the government for the handouts and start, you know, helping our fellow man. And if the churches can coordinate this, then all the better. And I think that that's what we need to do. I mean, I've delivered, you know, bags of groceries to people in need around the holidays, and you know, it's what should be done, you know, through organized church drives. Let's get back to the basics. Let's get back to that, where man helps man, you know, and not rely on the feds. So.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I think. Yeah, and you speak, Doc, I got to tell you something, you know, I don't know why, because, you know, but I've been hearing from a couple of different churches. They've been burning CDs of our programs with Greg Evenson and Steve Quayle. I was going to say Augusto, and giving them out and having them available outside of the chapel, if you will. That's the wrong, you know, term, I'm afraid, but you know, it's good. I mean, get the word out there. So
well, I got my pastor and a few other guys that started listening to you, Steve Quayle, Rick Wiles. And then I sent them the Augusto link from yesterday, and
well, thank you.
And it's like all coming together. It's awesome, you know. And I just want to encourage anybody, because everybody knows how it is when, you know, you try to explain something to somebody, their eyes just gloss over, you know, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, some people just get it and some don't, and
no, you're right.
You know, we just got to keep chugging along, because it's getting closer and closer to the, you know, to the other shoe drop, or however you want to say it, you know.
That's right.
And I want to thank you, Doug. I know you have been a listener to our show since we began doing the weekend shows, and you always send me information, news stories, and even when you're, you know, out in your hiding spot in the wilderness, you know, you still keep me updated, and we really appreciate, you know, all the support and spreading the word. And
I think we got to track him, find out where his hiding spot is there. And
believe it or not, I would be like listening to you guys while I'm swinging a hammer or setting tile or putting up a new fireplace, or and all my carpenters that I'd hire, you know, because I'd make them listen to Alex+Jones, listen to you, listen to everybody, you know. They'd be begging, can't we please listen to some country music or something? I even had one guy I raised just so he quit, you know, crying, you know, about listening to all the truth, you know.
There we go. They're costing you money now, you know. But yeah, now I'll tell you what. Look, you don't have to exclusively set aside, and you do it. You know, you can have it on in the background and pick up things that you ordinarily wouldn't pick up on your normal newscast, normal talk show. So that's good. That does my heart good. And thank you for everything you've done. And that's wow.
Don't thank me. You guys are the ones. Well, it's all teamwork is what I do.
That's it. Thank you. You know what?
It is teamwork. From the listeners to the people praying to people who support the show by spreading the word or by donating, by people streaming the show, by people emailing the links to other people, by people not even forget the show, but by taking the message and helping other people find Jesus with what you learned, if you learned something here. That, you know, it's all just to help people. That's the main goal. We have to make sure we keep it that way. And you guys are what makes that possible, and we really appreciate you.
Well, thanks, Doc. We're going to cut you loose, move on.
Yeah,
thank you, my friend.
Okay, bye.
That's great, Joe. That's fabulous. Let's get through as many callers as we can here, because we've been neglecting them. And this is a caller-driven show. This is a listener-driven, caller-driven show. So
I'm going to go to area code 412. I see you've been holding for a while. I must have missed that. Area code 412, you're on with the Hagmann and Hagmann report.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Oh, hey, great. Hey, I was the guy I just be having to listen, and I was the guy you were referring to with the church about preparing with the previous caller. This is Pilgrim from 412.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted a couple things. First of all, I just want to tell you, last time I talked to you guys, it kind of inspired me to take it a little bit bigger, because a couple of things you and Joe said made me think, you know what, we got to go, we are responsible for the church. We are the church. So what I've found, and this may be helpful to some of your listeners, we found, you know, in any church, you know, it's very difficult to breach this with pastors. Some are very receptive, but when you find those of a large congregation, they're very reluctant to talk about these things, let alone embrace them and look at this rationally. And I have a number of reasons for that, everything from a 501c3 to the fact that they're worried about people looking at them in a reactionary and leaving the door. My point is this: it shouldn't stop particularly the elders in that church from pressing forward. What I've found, and I wanted to tell you guys, this might be a good strategy for everybody else, is there are like-minded people in that church, which I've gathered them up, and I've said, look, it's going to be incumbent upon us to prepare for something to happen. We need a safe place for this church to go. We need to prepare in the event that there is food. We've got to keep them out of being rounded up and taken somewhere. That just, to me, is the very minimum that we should be doing. Prepare for our families. We need to think bigger than that. So getting families together to be able to put a couple buckets of food away, 6-gallon buckets, and we're going to get a bunch of that. And I've talked to somebody who owns a Christian camp within, let's just say an hour away. And we're basically preparing and storing food there, so in the event we have to evacuate a church, or we have a need for mass food in case of some sort of accident or natural disaster or whatever, we have a storehouse. And it doesn't take the permission of the church leadership to do that. Anybody can do this. And the nice thing about it is, we can always donate that food to that camp as an IRS deduction. It's also a place for us to store it in a separate place. So if your house is burgled or burns down or something, then you have a little store of food somewhere else that you could go use. My point is that we don't need to ask permission to act, and sometimes it's difficult for those in those positions of authority to see it, embrace it, and there's a lot of reasons. It shouldn't stop us from moving forward. So I want to thank you guys. You kind of inspired me to that little action there.
Well, I want to tell you, I had a conversation with somebody before the show, and we were talking about storing food and the need for people to store enough food as much as they possibly can, even thinking that, they might be able to sustain their whole neighborhood for 6 months. Because if you have enough food for a community, you could focus on other things as a community, not having to worry about where your food's coming from, and focus on rebuilding and becoming dependent yourself. So, when we do prepare, we all need to remember to try to prepare a lot, extra, maybe for 10 extra people if you can, especially if you have the need.
Yeah, Joe, and I think that program here is actually saying that and doing that, and what a tremendous idea. Talk about your path of least resistance, but most effective. I mean, thank you for doing that, because weather disaster, who knows, what could happen. And when you need it, it's off premise. You've got it. It's secure. And as you say, you can always donate it, and under the 501c3, have that deduction, or have that deduction, credit, whatever you want to call it. So good job, man. Good job. That's.
I appreciate that, gentlemen. And I just want to, once again, you guys do a fine job. And I also have to just remark on, I am just still dumbfounded at this late day and age with everything going on, the absolute distraction of people that aren't even listening. I've been at this for many years, seeing what's coming, and I'll try to bring up conversations, and it is not even about resistance. they don't even, it's not even on their radar. They're not even paying attention to it. That just, to me, is dumbfounding. Still, how many, at this late time, still can't see what's going on?
Yeah, but you know what, and this is the last thing I'll say. As a guy who's been there, who's not wanted to confront the reality of things, or, you know, working 2 jobs and, you know, you know, worried about paying the mortgage, and still, I mean, I'm still there. But you know, it's easy. I mean, treat them tenderly, okay? Because they'll come around, and hopefully before it's too late, you know.
And but usually it has to do with some personal something happening with somebody, maybe a life experience, a near-death experience, a loss of a job. I mean, there usually is a trigger where something happens where, you know, it takes people to look at things differently.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to figure out. How do we help people, nudge them in the right direction to start looking at things differently without being, you know, overbearing? And I know it doesn't seem overbearing, and we're probably not being overbearing. If anything, we're being underbearing because this is a serious situation. But we need to learn how to unlock people's ability to think at both sides, look at it from, you know, 2 sides.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, and to Doug's point, I think you said that, you know, we'd be gentle with these people. One of you guys did, and you're right. I mean, there's degrees of awareness.
Yeah.
When they become aware, then the first thing to do is to the last person they talked about that, you know, this guy or gal that happened to be talking about that, and then that opportunity. And from a Christian perspective, I've always seen this as our opportunity, because when this goes flat, that's a chance for the church to stand up and be what we are in Christ, is to be salt and light and wisdom during these times. And that's the largest reason why I've been at this, because I've sensed an opportunity for the church. And if it's not going to be there, then it's going to be, you know, some other savior's going to step in, and that's exactly the path to the dark side.
Yeah, and you know, you said something very valuable. We are the church. I mean, and we are, and we have to step up to the plate and act that, you know, fill that capacity. Well, God bless you, my friend. That's great.
Yeah, we're up against the top of the hour break. Is there anything you'd like to say before we let you go? Anything else?
No, other than pray for you guys. Father in heaven, I ask you for your divine protection on these 2, that for the fine work they do, and they do it in your name and with your heart. And I ask that you continue to fill them with wisdom and guidance, and most of all, courage to do what's right. In His name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed.
Have a great evening.
You too, sir. Wow. You know, we're blessed, and thank God for our extended family, our callers, and I love it. Okay, Joe.
Absolutely. I think it's we'll take the top of the hour.
Yeah, Jeff in Boston, hold on.
Jeff next. We'll take you right at the top of the hour, and then we'll go back to news. Right. Yeah,
we will take your calls in the order in which they received. Jeff's up next after the top, and then, as we said, we'll get back into the news. Folks, just hold on. You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. This is the end of hour number 1.
And when we come back, or part of the break, is going to be a clip. We should play this during the break while we have the chance. Obama administration refuses to tell judge if NDAA is being illegally enforced. Now, you can either play this during the break or come back and play it after.
No, we're going to lead in with that.
Okay.
Go ahead, Joe. Cue that up.
Here we go.
Well, the National Defense Authorization Act may be the most significant piece of legislation in the country when it comes to civil rights, and yet it is rarely even mentioned by the national media, which is why you have probably not heard that the Obama administration may be in violation of a federal court injunction that blocks the administration from locking up U.S. citizens without trial. In our commitment to balanced news, Ben has the reality check you won't see anywhere else.
The National Defense Authorization Act, something we've talked about for months here on Reality Check. Section 1021 of that bill gives the president the power to arrest and to hold even U.S. citizens who are accused of terrorism or aiding terror groups. And to be clear, this law does not require that the government prove you are working with terrorists. It does not require that you're given a trial, and allows you to be held by the government until the end of our war with Al-Qaeda, Taliban, or so-called associated forces, even though it's not really clear who those associated forces might be. Yes, it's called the Indefinite Detention Clause, and it means that you can be held by the feds in prison without one shred of proof that you've done anything wrong until the end of our endless war on terror. The National Defense Authorization Act was drafted by Democrat Senator Carl Levin and Republican Senator John McCain, and the bill not only passed Congress easily, but it went to the desk of President Obama, who signed it into law on New Year's Eve 2011, though the president claimed he had reservations. Well, shortly after signing the NDAA, the White House released this statement from the president. Quote, I want to clarify that my administration will not authorize the indefinite military detention without trial of American citizens. Indeed, I believe that doing so would break with our most important traditions and values as a nation. The only problem, as we've told you here, Senator Carl Levin stood on the Senate floor and explained that it was, in fact, the Obama administration who, in the first place, specifically asked for that indefinite detention power. So which one is it? Does the president want this power or not? Well, consider this. Early this year, a group of journalists and activists sued the government. They claim the Indefinite Detention Clause violates the Due Process Clause of the Constitution. Judge Catherine Forrest agreed with those journalists, issuing an 8-page memorandum in which she said that indefinite detention cannot be used on any of America's own citizens, saying, quote, in the face of what could be indeterminate military detention, due process requires more. Well, instead of abiding by the injunction, the White House has appealed it instead. Tangerine Bolin is an activist who voted for President Obama in 2008. She's also one of the plaintiffs suing the government over this issue, and writes about the latest hearing on this issue, saying, quote, Obama's attorneys refused to assure the court in the latest hearing, when questioned, that the NDAA's provision, one that permits reporters and others who have not committed crimes to be detained without trial, has not been applied by the U.S. government anywhere in the world after Judge Forrest's injunction. In other words, they were saying to a U.S. judge that they could not or would not state whether Obama's government had complied with the legal injunction that she had laid down before them. To this, Judge Forrest responded that if the provision has indeed been applied, the United States government itself will be held in contempt of court. So what you need to know is that this issue is not political, it's an issue of law. The NDAA Indefinite Detention Clause, according to a U.S. federal judge, violates the rule of law in the U.S. Constitution. It violates freedom of speech, freedom of press, and the right to due process. But rather than abiding by that, not only is the White House fighting it, the government's own lawyers either can't or won't say whether they've been abiding by a federal order to stop indefinite detention around the world. We have 3 separate but equal branches of government for a reason. But both parties right now, they are fighting to grow the power of that executive branch to overpower the other 2. Americans had better wake up from this left-right paradigm, because if they don't, soon we won't be electing a chief executive. We'll be choosing one person to rule us all. And that is Reality Check.
If you'd like to make your voice heard on the story, head over to Ben's Facebook page. Find it by simply searching him, Ben Swan, WXIX.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your #1 priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com, or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
And folks, due to the lateness of the hour, I would urge everyone to go to HomelandSecurityUS.com. That's HomelandSecurityUS.com. Click on the Freeze Dry Guy link, and give the freeze-dry guy a call. Tell him what your situation is and allow him to guide you, make suggestions, and make some offerings in terms of what's on sale, what's on special for the month of August in particular. And you won't be sorry. You'll get an education, he'll help you out, and he'll spend the time with you, and it'll be well worth it, folks. That's freezedryguy.com via HomelandSecurityUS.com, and mention Doug and Joe sent you. Hi folks, Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's canadafreepress.com on the internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Eilena Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at canadafreepress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
Doug Hagmann, one guy that doesn't need a bullhorn to get your attention.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this Wednesday, August 15th edition of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. My name is Joe Hagmann. My co-host is Doug Hagmann. Together, we are the premier father and son radio show host team. And the first hour, we were taking your calls, got into some important information, Social Security Administration buying ammunition, following suit with many other government agencies. We talked about Janet Napolitano's hiring of and treatment and a lawsuit being brought against her of males, as she herself is a homosexual and is only apparently bringing other homosexual women to the ranks of DHS while I guess humiliating males, as it is listed in the lawsuit. I want to bring your attention to this at the beginning of the hour, and then we're going to go to Jeff's phone call. This
hey, Joe, let me interrupt you just for a second. I just got this from Judy McLeod from Canada Free Press. The FRC shooting suspect, okay, now this might tie in with what you said about the Homeland Security and the gay, lesbian, and transgendered agenda here.
Is this the shooting that happened at the conservative, that happened today at the
Family Research Council shooting?
Yes.
Right, okay. Information just came out that the shooting suspect was volunteering at the Washington LGBT Community Center. Okay, so, you know, there are multi-levels to this, and I'm just wondering, really, I'm just wondering how much of this will come out. You know, the alleged shooter is Floyd Corkins II, I believe, right, the shooting suspect. And he was volunteering at that center, okay, for the past 6 months. Now, again, I am not, the reason I mention this is because perhaps other news agencies won't, okay, and you've got to also wonder, you know, what effect this might have within DHS, within the military, and so on. So, you know,
okay.
you've got an element of radical gay activists, and you just got to wonder. So, with that, continue with what you were saying.
Now, this is something that was part of another story. The National Guard, if you guys remember, people were saying that the National Guard was called up, you know, for emergency, or was called in out of schedule, okay? And I don't know if you remember hearing about this. But this was part of the John Moore's Nibiru coming thing, and the military bases were being evacuated. National Guard troops were being called up. Well, I was talking with somebody before the show who had a family member went and did go with the National Guard, and they couldn't say where they went or what they were doing, but it was in Indiana. And I found this, and this was for immediate release. This is from the State Department of Tennessee military. Now, there was a specialized National Guard unit national level exercise where there were civil support teams and many other teams. I'll go through them here. A 22-member unit helped kick off the U.S. Northern Command's Vibrant Response 13, a national level exercise held in an urban training center called Muscatatuck. Additionally, there are 10 other training areas, airfields in Indiana and northern Kentucky involving more than 9,000 service members, civilians from various agencies from July 25th to August 13th. It is one of the largest incident response events in the nation. Now, what this exercise was, says for this exercise, there was the simulated detonation of a 10-kiloton nuclear weapon in a nearby city. Our first mission was to assist with clearing routes, containment, monitoring radiation, and helping possible victims while follow-up forces arrive, I guess they are meaning to say. It goes on to say that this was a drill, and these people were here taking part in what would happen, cleaning out buildings, looking for survivors, monitoring radiation, searching structures, just different scenarios, real-world scenarios that could happen in case of a possible catastrophe. But my question is, the people who were called here to go, there with this exercise, there was a level of secrecy that they weren't allowed to say, what they were doing or where they were going. If this was part of the drill, or they were going to do this, be part of this drill, why would there be secrecy around this?
Well, but okay, to be reasonable about this, I think that if it's a legitimate military exercise for legitimate security of our nation, I can agree with a level of secrecy. Now, I guess my question is, historically in the past, has this been done before? I think we have to look at, let's be reasonable about this, okay? Let's not jump,
No. I'm just saying, that if this is what the people were being called up for, or was this a cover for why they were really called? Yeah,
and that's a reasonable question to ask. And do we know the answer to that? No, we don't know the answer to that. But, okay, and then you combine that with everything else that's going on. One has to question, I think anyone with reasonable sensibilities should question, what's the government doing? Okay, that's the key here. It's one thing when you can be sure that the government is acting on behalf of the best interests of its citizens. In this case, in recent months and years, and even for the better part of decades, I think it's fair to ask, are they operating in the best interests of the people of the United States? And I'm not sure I have the answer to that. I think we have to keep connecting the dots. This is a work in progress. This is research and investigation in progress.
Yes, it is.
So that's so again, you've got control of the board. You do what you need to do here.
Okay. I am seeing in the chat room somebody says breaking on Drudge blast heard in southern Israel. We're going to go to the phones now, and I'm going to look and see if I can find.
We'll monitor that. Let me double check the flash traffic on the military list that I've got here.
Okay, we'll go to the phones. All right, let me find here we go. Jeff, you're on with the Hagmann and Hagmann report.
Thank you very much, Joe. And Doug and Joe, how's it going, guys?
Good, sir.
Well, you know what? I'm going to give more of a spiritual report today. I was praying, and especially, now this evolved, and there's 3 signs that have to happen in a city before real hardcore judgment comes to that city. And you can take these to the bank. This is not Nibiru, this is not Planet X, this is not Matthew 24. 3 simple signs, you can find them in the Bible. First off, an area has to depart from God 3 to 4 generations. Now in the second commandment of the 10 Commandments, it says that God visits the 3rd and 4th generation of them who hate God. Number 2, when politicians are in open sin, when they're parading their sin, like Mayor Menino, like Barney Frank, like Deval Patrick, and so forth, and people keep voting them in over and over and over again for money and a hack job, and to care less what these guys even do. I mean, even if you guys put on a billboard every single thing these demons do, and the people still don't care, they still vote for them because they get a paycheck, that's signpost number 2. And signpost number 3, 2 Chronicles chapter 36, where it says, and they mocked the messengers and misused the prophets until the wrath of the Lord arose against his people, so there was no remedy. Meaning, when there's literally hostility against the people of God, the things of God, and anything that's good, clean, and wholesome, that's when God lowers the boom. And Mayor Menino, with his Chick-fil-A, did that. Now, there's other areas that are just as reprobate, but each of you in the audience could take those 3 principles and if it applies to your city, really pray and intercede for that city. I was praying and interceding for Boston today because even though you're talking about guns today, I got news for you. When Boston gets attacked, you know that Mayor Menino is going to stand up and demand that only federal officers, police officers, and the military carry firearms, and that there'll be raids on individual homes in the Boston surrounding area. And Boston includes Dorchester, Roxbury, and I think even Mattapan, but I'm not sure about Mattapan. But I know Roxbury. Boston covers a whole swath of area that's major. But I figured I'd throw out those 3 signs. And remember, for true revival to happen, it starts from the top on down with the politician repenting, renouncing his sin, like a Mayor Menino or Deval Patrick got saved. They'll repudiate all these abominations, publicly admit to all the Antichrist stuff they do, restore the blue laws, study the revivals under Josiah and the book of Jonah. That's the model revival. We don't have it. We're under deception. God bless you guys. Keep up the good work and have a good night.
Interesting. Thanks, Jeff. Wow. Yeah, that's interesting.
Thanks for your call, Jeff. Always interesting, and I mean, he loves Boston, and you know, we'll pray for Boston like we pray for the rest of America. Most importantly, the people of Boston be safe, and the people of America be safe. Well, I think we should move on here. We have some more calls on hold, and we are going to go to area code 509. You're on live with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Oh, wow, I didn't expect to even get on. Thanks for answering my call. I just was wondering, I hear your guests come on and talk about what they believe is going to happen. What is your timeline? Do you have even a timeline, or are you just putting out the information, which is awesome anyway?
Well, I tell you, I kind of have a timeline, but Dad, I don't know if you want to take that first. Or...
Well, you know, here's what I think. I mean, I'm rather cautious with timelines, because I think if you look at it, and you know, having gone through a lot of different investigations and seen a lot of things in the last 27 years, I think when people have plans, if we are to believe that, for example, the Illuminati or some power brokers, whether they're bankers or globalists, have plans in mind, I think that you know, it's kind of like an outline, and I think that certain things happen that whether by prayer or as a result of prayer or as a result of just plain dumb luck or things. I think times change. The timelines change, and I think they have to adapt, just like anyone else has to adapt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, having said that, you know, I'm less inclined to assign a timeline to things, although I do believe there's a desire to get things done as soon as possible without necessarily, you know, as soon as possible. Now, but Joe, go ahead and add to that if you will, if you want.
Yeah, and when I mean timeline, I'm not setting dates, but just what I see in the near future. I see in the next 6 months, I see Syria being overthrown and probably a war with Iran being started, or in the beginning stages, definitely 6 months to a year, and I don't think it would last a year for war. And as far as the economy, I'd say anytime between now and, you know, the end of 2013, we can expect to see the economy crash. Also, with the Federal Reserve, I think their charter's up at the end of this year. We have to figure out, well, you know, what's going to happen with that. If that's the case, that could change. You know, I mean, we could be looking at 6 months on an economic, and all this is subject to change. Like my dad said, it's not nailed down. We can do things to stop, delay it, but I don't see a future. I mean, they're going after Syria. We saw how fast they overthrew the countries in the Middle East. Syria, Libya slowed them up a lot. Syria is slowing them up a lot, and you know, their agenda might be pushed back a little bit further. But I'm telling you, the research I see, it has to do with the central banks, and that's the first and foremost important thing that they need to do, is establish a central bank in every country, and then they can consolidate the economy. So I would look for Iran first, and then the economy second.
Yeah, what do you think, Mark? What do you think?
Well, I enjoy your show. Like the couple of callers were pointing out that I kind of gather together a whole bunch of people who know more than I do, and I kind of crunch the numbers with that. Of course, I grab the Word of God first, and the generation can't go too far. Jesus said that this generation will not pass. And we know that processed foods is killing us all. The 70-year-old mark is probably the average mark for this generation. So I don't know for sure, but it seems like to me that somebody is setting the stage for a more of a shock and awe. And what I mean by that is, I was in the Iraqi War 2003. And I noticed that shock and awe was brought up a lot by the leaders, and that was per se as far as military combat. But order out of chaos is the New World Order's way of doing things. And just because they haven't done it before, these guys are patient. Don't mean that they're not going to do it at one time in history. And what I mean by shock and awe is, I mean, they can take the financial markets, the wars. They could take, of course, you know, they control the weather. So you know they can make earthquakes. They can do all this stuff in just a matter of weeks. And even as watchers, will be caught off guard. Well, we wouldn't even know. Man, we would have never guessed that this thing would have happened in a matter of just 4 to 8 weeks.
Right.
Because it is shocking.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
So much can change in such a short amount of time.
But anyway, thank y'all for taking my call. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for your call. Wow, that's great. Yeah,
God bless.
God bless you as well. Yeah, you know, and I think that's important, Joe. I think people have to realize that we can't be stuck in a specific time frame. I think we have to look at this as an evolving situation.
Right. No, it is, and definitely an evolving situation. But we can see from what's happening, I mean, the rate we're going, the rate things are moving along as far as the economy, and I think the elections are a big part of it. We're either going to see something really big happen before or after the elections, and that could be the war with Iran, you know.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, depending on what the globalists and the Satanists and the evil controllers of the world, the Illuminati, decide, they could say, we're going to, you know, get Barry out of office, put in Mitt Romney and have a war, or we're going to have a war keep Obama in office by canceling elections, by rigging elections, by however they plan to do it. But I think that the elections play a huge part in this too, as far as what they decide to do, because they have Mitt Romney in the bag, they have Obama in the bag,
and I think, and I really do think that they've got to have some or maintain some semblance of normalcy, or at least that's what they would like to do. Given the choice, okay, look, given the choice of suspending elections, which would be drastic thing to do, versus allowing the election or having the elections to go on as normal. Given the choices, I'm certain that the powers that are certainly not ready to, or would prefer not to have the elections suspended. So, yeah, so then, okay, how do you make sure your person or your agenda is your agenda is going to be the one you know what I mean, to continue. So, yeah, it's really, again, an evolving situation. I think we have to pay very close attention to the more, in this case, I think it's important for us to pay attention to what we're not being told. Yeah, we're hearing the war drums, but look at what we're not being told about. Well, like we're telling you, about the arming of the rebels or the terrorists in Syria. We're telling you about the relationship between the government and the Syrian opposition. We're telling you about all this stuff. I think that's important to focus on.
And I don't have cable, and I don't watch the normal news stations, but I do listen to radio, and I don't know if ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS reports on this stuff with the ammunition sales, with the police state news. I would doubt that they do, and if they do report on it, they spin it in a certain way, to make it sound, reasonable and necessary, and et cetera.
Right. Yeah.
But like you said, we have to find out, what's not being talked about. And I think the Federal Reserve issue is a big issue. We also have the Republican and the Democratic National Conventions coming up. And there seems to be a lot of, I think I read on air, the mayor of Tampa wanted a temporary gun ban during the RNC. I think that's correct. I think Tampa is where the RNC is. It's in Florida.
Yes. Well, what about it?
Well, and the governor said, no, you can't do that. Well, they're going to be having like military, like the things we're seeing in Anaheim and across the country with these big truck DHS military police personnel. We're going to see these at the Democratic National Conventions and the Democratic and Republican conventions.
Yeah.
And look what happened with Robert Kennedy back in whatever year that was.
68.
Yeah, we see that the controllers can do what they want when they want, and we just have to always be aware that what we're being told by the media is not, might be completely irrelevant to what's going on. But our audience knows that, and you guys do an excellent job of bringing our attention to us things that we miss on a daily basis that are important too. So we always appreciate that. But I would definitely keep an eye on this situation in the Israel and Iran very closely, especially before the election, because we might be able to tell what's going to happen in the election based on what is happening with this Iran situation.
I agree. I do agree with that. All right. Do we have any more callers on hold that we need to get to?
Yeah, we do have some calls. Let's try area code, I don't think I took this one, 425. Area code 425, you're on with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hi.
I wanted to follow on to the previous call regarding a timeline on a couple of your shows the past week. I sent you an email. I don't know if you had a chance to read it yet. But both Steve Quayle and another caller, Jan in Dallas, predicted a very specific date range, and that was the 17th. And I was just curious because that's exactly the Jewish high holidays, and I was wondering if you guys know what the genesis of their prediction is.
Okay, caller, I want to tell you, I got your email.
I did as well.
We didn't understand it too much at first, but I sent it to a very close friend, a spiritual advisor of the show, okay? And I'm going to read to you what the information I was given, what you asked, because I'm not very knowledgeable in this. It says
the reply.
The words, the 137 was the numbers you said. The mentions happened both at 1 hour and 37 minutes into the show, or 1 minute and 37 minutes.
Right.
Just so people understand, on two different shows, that the hour and 37-minute mark, and that I would say, I mean, I don't want to use the word coincidental, but perhaps divinely inspired. The same information was mentioned, the same date range was mentioned. So go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, and she writes, this 137 could actually be Grammatica. I think I said that right.
Gematria.
Gematria, I'm sorry. Gematria, a word from God for us. If so, there will be confirmation as always. And it says the word 137 in Hebrew means chariot wheel. And as in Elijah going up in a chariot of fire. It also means Amos. And whatever connection that means. Now, as far as your email and your question, when you ask what is the can you relate the genesis of those mentioning this highly specific date range? What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I understand this question. Okay, what's the significance of the August 17th through the September?
This is when the John Moore says that this Nibiru thing's going to go through, and that's what this Jan caller referenced on our show.
Right.
And then Steve talking about a period from August 16th to 17th through September 28th about UN troops entering the U.S.
Right. And the caller, and correct me if I'm wrong, caller, you're asking, well, hey, what's up with that date range?
And excuse me, this might be above my level of knowledge of this stuff. So
no, yeah, I got it, and I did a double take on that. I'm thinking, now wait a minute, isn't that interesting? At the exact time of two different shows, basically the same time range, give or take a day, were mentioned, and so what gives? And here's okay. You might have consulted your advisor, Joe, but my my position is I looked at this, and I'm not certain what the significance is. That doesn't mean there is none. I think there is, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I guess I'm lacking an understanding in what is so important in this. Is it the timing that these were meant, that this was mentioned twice at the same time period in the show?
With the same dates, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, hey caller, to give you an honest answer, beats the heck out of us. Okay.
That's fair enough. That's
okay.
As you said, none of us believe in coincidence, and I do agree with that. And as our friend said, nothing happens by accident.
That's right.
And this could be, there could be more to this.
Well, yeah, and I'm not so sure. Look. In fact, I printed the email out. It's on my desk right here. I honestly don't know. I'm disturbed by it because we're in that time period. Well, close to it. We will be in that time period here. And what does that mean? I don't know. But certainly, I think it's something to watch.
And I have a question, caller, from the chat room. Somebody wants to know what brought this to your attention, that you caught this.
Well, just because I'm familiar with the Jewish high holidays, and this was a very specific date range, and it coincided exactly with the Jewish high holidays, and I was just wondering what the genesis of that particular prediction was. And
okay,
as you said before, coincidences, we don't believe in that.
Right. Now, caller, do you have any thoughts? I mean, what's your gut telling you with that? Being familiar with the Jewish high holidays, what do you think about this?
Well, I've listened to you for a while, and I think you're right on, and I would be very cautious during this period, and I think it's going to be very significant. I can't give you specifics. Obviously, none of us really knows, but I think it's something to pay attention to.
Yeah, and what I've done is, like I said, I printed the email out, your email. I've got some inquiries out that don't address this head on, but it's part of it. I mean, this is part of the inquiries I've got. I'm trying to build get some answers for you, I guess. Get some answers for me as well, and for Joe, and for all of us, because we need to know. And that said, we'll report on air our findings. So just stay tuned, if you will.
Great. All the best to both of you.
The same to you, and thank you so much for the call. Great. Joe, again, people, it's so great to get information like this from people who are paying attention and say, hey, look, this doesn't seem like a coincidence. And it really doesn't, because I don't believe in that strong of coincidences. And I just... Especially when we're so scattered and not, what do you call it, not adherent to any, to a real solid schedule. So. Right. And I typed this in the chat room, like a light bulb went on in my head. I kind of just understood now exactly what he was... It took you that long, huh? No, it did. I got to say I was confused, and maybe it was just my fault not reading through it properly. But, yeah, I just finally understood, and, very... being very aware there. And, maybe... do these predictions? I mean, I know a lot of times we look at the Olympics. They said the Olympic ceremonies were starting. It was the 9th of Av, the significance of that, and it was significant. Thankfully, nothing happened like people said. Are they over? Are they over? Yeah, the Olympics are over. Okay. But these things, in my mind, from reading Scripture, God's holidays and His appointed days, are His days, and they're special days, and revelations from God can happen on these days. We don't know. I mean, the times we live in are so uncertain. The Lord is at the door, as it says in the Bible, during the birth pains, the beginning of the tribulation, and what He has in store for us and how it will be carried out is only His plan. Only He knows. But one thing we can be sure of is that He will, in little ways like this, with the numbers and the mentioning of the dates, maybe He's revealing something to us. And that's what we have to look at. We have to, from Quail Show, the seen and the unseen. Well, this is something that was unseen that was brought to our attention. And now we have the ability to go through and look at it and see exactly what is important and, what it means. Okay. Well, and folks, just as an FYI, the military traffic that I'm talking about that I do receive here at my office, I have not gotten any additional information about explosions in southern Israel. So just let you know, I am watching here, but to this point, there's nothing new that I can offer you folks. Now, it's like, people say, well, no news is good news. No news is just simply no news. And that said, it's just no news at this point, very simply. So, okay. Well, we'll move on here. Yeah. I want to get to this story I mentioned at the top of the hour. Off-duty cop hits 4-year-old girl with motorcycle, then shoots and kills angry dad. This is posted from The Blaze. This is hard to stomach. It really is. And I know this isn't a huge news breaking story or a police state type of story like we usually talk about, but this is important. Moments after his motorcycle struck a 4-year-old girl, an off-duty police officer shot and killed the girl's irate father after he allegedly attacked the officer. The Fraternal Order police spokesman, Pat Camden, identified officer as 43-year-old veteran of the Chicago Police Department. The officer was headed home on Saturday evening when
the horrifying incident occurred. He was driving home. The officer says he saw a child unexpectedly run into the street. In order not to strike the girl directly, the cop jumped off his bike, pulling it down on the side of the pavement. However, the motorcycle skidded and flipped, hitting the 4-year-old girl and her 18-year-old cousin. As the officer attempted to provide aid to the girl, her father, identified as Christopher Middleton, 26, came running out of a nearby restaurant and aggressively approached the officer and began shouting. Officials say the cop argues that he identified himself as a police officer, but Middleton still hit him in the face and knocked him to the ground before striking him repeatedly. Now, the reason this is important, I want to say, is because there's a couple things here. One, you have an off-duty police officer, and you have this happen to this girl. As a father, I'm not a father, but as a father, your first reaction would be to make sure that your child's okay, I would think, right? And I'm not saying that I don't know the whole story of this, but it seems like he came after the person, or the way the article is written. It seems that he came after the police officer, before going to check on his girl. But anyway, being physically aggressive is what I was getting at. The violence, the anger that people have. And especially when involving people's kids, I can understand how emotional it might be. But this is, a word I got today before the show, which is, patience, understanding, forgiveness, compassion, virtues that we must have and build on. And things like this would not happen if people practice this more often, having more patience and understanding, and more of the ability to look at it from the other side and understand, where both people are coming from. This is a incident that did not have to end this way, and because of emotions, out of control emotions, it happened. And we have to learn to control our emotions, our good ones and our bad ones, because they can be very harmful to us and what we are trying to accomplish in being better people.
Well, I think, look, I think on a personal level, that story resonates. Look, it just is indicative of the societal, where we are as a society, and the tensions that are building, the undercurrent. And I think that for every one story like that makes the news, you've got 10 others that fall in the same category. And I think that's the point you're trying to make, and that's the point that people have to understand. It is now getting to the point where people are losing patience, they're losing their tolerance, they're losing, they're becoming more aggressive, and that is a sign, to me, a sign of the state of affairs. Now, let me bump into something a little bit different here, because as I said, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I spoke at length to Marika Peshman, who's the author of The Whistleblower, and one of the things that she uncovered here recently was Obama, the progressive, the communists in our government, and I use that word very carefully. But what they're doing right now is they're using this amnesty that you've heard about. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard about this. The amnesty that's going on. Right now, we stand to have more than 1.7 million illegal immigrants to allow them to become eligible to vote, okay, when Obama's non-deportation policy goes into effect. Okay, here's the deal, okay. The reason this amnesty is being pushed right now is, according to the best estimates of non-political agendized agencies, you're looking at more than 1.7 million illegal immigrants. The policy that Obama has given halts the deportation for these illegal immigrants not above the age of 30. And what they are doing, in particular the labor unions and the community organization groups, are giving them packages that include they're almost like welcome packages. You know, when you get married, I don't know, you get a package at the courthouse or wherever, you know, from your congressman. Well, this is what's taking place. They're giving them out. They're giving packages to these non-deportable people, and in those packages, of course, is filled with information about how to vote, where to vote. Now, these are illegal people. So 1.7.
I read this today, and I just, it's crazy.
Right. Now, in conjunction with that, there is this, let me pull this note up here because this is important. In conjunction with that, you've got that's not great. I just lost it. But okay, now here it is. You've got this lack of deportation of middle school dropouts, okay? Now, so what's going on is somebody comes here for school, and an illegal immigrant, they're enrolled in school, which I still kind of have a hard time understanding how that works, okay? They drop out of school, and they are given a pass by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. In fact, the ICE individuals are saying, no, do not deport even these people, even if they are, in violation of the laws. Okay, so that said, and one more thing about the upcoming election, and you think, well, geez, what could happen? Well, look, the new Black Panther Party members, they have their plans, and watch for this. This is something I received here in an FBI bulletin. Watch for the Black Panther behavior at and around the Republican convention as well as the Democratic convention, and watch for additional involvement like you saw in 2008, but perhaps on steroids, basically. Okay, and now the DHS is allowing this to happen. Go figure. The White House is encouraging this to take place. The Justice Department is looking the other way. And yeah, man, they are. Yeah. So that said, I would, and according to this memo, this is it's just not for public consumption. It's for official use only. It states that information recently obtained, now this would be at lower levels, like law enforcement levels, suggests that cities including Chicago, Miami, New York, Los Angeles, and there's probably another 15 or 20 cities here. There's a level of organization of Black Panthers and the labor unions as well, okay, which is, I don't want to say unprecedented, but it's now more overt, where they are going to band together and to intimidate or intimidate. I guess that's the word that's used here is coerce, but voters into making sure that they do vote for Obama, and that reeks of desperation. Now, again, is it going to matter? I don't know. But the fact that this is allowed to take place, yeah, think about that.
Look, we got about 8 minutes before the show is over. We're going to try to take some more calls. We're going to go to the phone lines. Area code 512. You're on the air with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. Hello, area code 512.
Can you get? I'm sorry. I think we missed that. I received a personal message here from 617. I think we missed that, or did we get that?
No, that was Jeff. Okay. We got that. Unless there was another one.
I'm not sure. They left the room, so
yeah, we got about 8 minutes left in the show. I guess we could squeeze one more phone call if somebody wants to call in at 661-244-9839. It would have to be quick though.
Yeah.
But another story I wanted to hit here. Police allegedly break man's arms. I told you about this. Now, what we see in this here is a guy was approached by a female officer who was impersonating a prostitute, trying to get people to say yes, they would, take her services or whatever.
Right.
And
a pretext. So go ahead.
Anyway, the guy said no, and the sign was given to take down, and there's conflicting reports in this story. Just to make a long story short, they broke the guy's arm, and he only had $3 in his pocket. He was in a car at a traffic light when the person came up to him. But I mean, look for this kind of stuff to happen more often. We see the police standing outside of toll booths. I was with somebody and got a ticket in New York City. They got a ticket in New York City. We came to a red light underneath a bridge, and a cop popped his head in the window, and he didn't have his seatbelt on. You know, we have to just always be aware of our surroundings. Apparently, according to this guy, some lady came up to his car, and before he knew it, he was getting dragged out of his car, and his arm was broken, and he's being charged with a crime. And I just wanted to bring this to people's attention because we have to be aware of our surroundings and what's going on, and know that this could happen to us, you know, for no reason. You never know. And I'll post the article in the chat room. It's called "Police Allegedly Break Man's Arm, Falsely Prosecute Him After Refusing Officers Prostitution Offer." And we see, and I always ask, you know, what kind of police officers are they that are carrying out these orders of arresting people having Bible studies in their homes? What kind of people do you have to be to knowingly falsely accuse somebody of a crime?
Bigger picture. That's the bigger picture that, you know, you can mention one story about, you know, a cop breaking somebody's arms and another cop punching someone else in the face. But the bigger picture, and that's what we're trying to get across here, the larger picture is well, it would be the increased aggressiveness of law enforcement against it's no longer, as Steve says, it's no longer to protect and serve. You know, it's now to restrain and to
right. It's not
you know,
to
incarcerate.
Serve. It is to revenue generate and incarcerate and revenue generate for the prisons.
That's
we have the most imprisoned nation. We have the most people in prison in the United States per capita of any nation in the world. It's supposed to be the nation of the free, and obviously it's not, because we have more people in jail than anybody else in the world per capita. And this law, and John Stossel, he did the special on Fox News, Illegal Everything, and talked about the 40-some thousand pages of laws that were added last year alone, and let alone what's going to be added now because of Obamacare. We have to, you know, recognize and speak out, talk to the churches, your churches, even go to different churches and sit in a couple weeks and get to know the pastors and spread the word that Christianity, our way of life, our freedoms, the Constitution, the Bible is under attack. And these people are not going to let up until it is abolished or we are abolished. And we have to fight back. And fighting back doesn't mean physically. It means, you know, at least standing up and saying no. Because the other, like that story with the officers that actually, you know, do carry out those orders that are unconstitutional or ungodly. What about the officers who sit there and watch it and let it happen? It's just like the people who sit around and watch what's happening in our country and say nothing about it.
The difference there, though, Joe, I think is
seeing a crime. Yeah, but we're all seeing crimes now. Our government is committing them. And, you know, people are not calling it out for what it is. And
that's right.
You know, we need to bring this to their attention.
And then another disturbing trend, in addition to what we see with law enforcement, and I want to bring this up as the show comes to a close. Folks, watch for this, because this is, again, part of the balkanization of America, and this does have to do, you know, as of today, that illegal immigrant, the deferment program begins. You can see this on various internet sites. You can see the videos and what have you, the thousands, tens of thousands of people lining up, you know, coming in. But watch for this trend. Right now, within the various immigrant communities around the country, and especially in New Mexico, for whatever reason that is, there are many undocumented parents who are reporting that they're fearful of not immigration officials as one would expect, but get this, of their own children, okay? Now, the reason I bring this up is because there is a moral issue, a legal issue here, and also a spiritual, I think it's very reflective of a spiritual problem that we've got. This might sound like I'm making this up, but I got to tell you, there have been Of all the statistics that I see, every day, look, there have been cases reported of children of immigrants and teens, young kids, as young as 4 years old, as young as 4, and teens threatening their undocumented parents with having them deported, as an extortion because they don't want to do something at home. And the reason I mention this, again, is because this is a byproduct of this illegal immigration. And folks, just watch this, because it's going to become a problem. I know it sounds like it's like out of left field, but it's something that we have to take a look at. And again, it's a byproduct of illegal immigration.
Now, tomorrow we'll be back at the same time. Also, we will both be in studio on video as scheduled.
God willing.
Yeah, we are planning on it. As I said, we have our personal issues handled, and we appreciate your patience. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, please, if you did not get a chance to listen to last night's show with Augusto Perez, please listen to it and spread it to everybody you know who would be interested, or just everybody you know. I think it is one of the best interviews we have done because of what Augusto said and how he said it. He had a great show last night, and the message is very powerful. So please go back and listen to that.
And folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend, a family member, a pastor, fellow parishioner, or churchgoer, and spread the word about the program. We are for the fastest growing program on the internet, according to the statistics. And I want to thank each and every one of you for your assistance, your financial assistance to keep us on the air. I want to thank you very, very much. It's so important to us. And with that, I'm just going to say good night, and may God
bless you all.
God bless every one of you. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, thanks. It was a great show.